We are uncovering more and more about Ozzie Edwards' troubled past. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Lawrence Report as we talk about episode 3 of Reasonable Doubt. And man, they left us with another great cliffhanger. It seems like as they always do, right? But make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. I've come to the conclusion that Jax is going to have to leave the firm and start her own firm. These partners are dirty. These partners cannot be trusted. Kathy, you was out of order. Kathy, you was out of line. Kathy, you got to go meet HR. Kathy, you got fired. Man, listen, we're going to start off with Jax and the dad, right? We know that the dad is coming to see Jackson Lewis, right? And he came on the doorstep completely unannounced. And they threw Jackson Lewis for a limbo, right? He's talking about, well, I'm doing this in downtown. I'm a musician now. Jax ain't trying to hear none of that because this man was a drug addicted father, right? This man walked out of Jax's life. She's hurt, and I completely understand that. She feels abandoned from her father not being with her those 8 years, right? This man even ditched her whenever they tried to get in contact. So I completely understand how Jax is feeling. Now, of course, we know that Jax, she slams the door, tells him get out, right? But then again, she decides to take him up on the offer. And the mother, the audacity of the mother to just be like, well, I think you should give him a second chance. Listen, it's up to Jax to decide. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in two different eras. Like, the way y'all did men back in your day versus how women do it now, it is completely different. Jax tells her father, if you mess up, this will be basically the last of me. Now, let's talk about Jax and the partners. Now, we know about the Ozzie Edwards case, and they're asking for an update. And she's like, dang, y'all want an update kind of early. And they're like, yeah. But she says, well, I uncovered, a little secret about Ozzy. I'm like, no, Jackson, why would you say that? Knowing that these partners, you can't be that oblivious, right? Knowing that these partners are fetching for anything they can use against you. And she tells them about kind of like about the secret, but she doesn't really go into detail about it, right? And of course, we have Kathy here. Kathy is about to cause a ruckus. When Jax is making her spill about the secret, Kathy's like, listen, what makes you think you can do what you want to do? Basically, right? The audacity. The audacity. Jack's like, listen, my name is on this building. I'm your superior. I'm your OG. I cannot believe you even said that to me, right? So now the partners are telling Kathy, calm down. You got to go to HR. And Jax goes on a spiel, which I completely agree about what it's like being a black woman in the firm, even though you're working twice as hard, even though you're doing the billing, even though you're, achieving this much success, sometimes it's still not enough. And even the partners, they're asking her to, fill us in about Bill as well. And she's like, well, I don't babysit. And I get it. Like, he's a grown man. Why are you asking for me about Bill, right? Jax has to get her own firm at the end of the day. I think we all can come to that conclusion because what she got there, it is it's tarnished for some reason, and like you said, it's still hard for me to even believe that they still do not trust her. And speaking of Bill, right? Bill is out here stalking. Bill's out here stalking his baby mama. We didn't know if it was true. I know a lot of fan theories like, yo, did Bill meet, just Google random family and show pictures to Jax? But apparently this is real. He's literally, in a relationship with a woman. They have kids, but she's holding the kids hostage. So now he can't see his kids, right? And now the partners, they're snuggling up to Bill, letting him know that, you know, we need you to get more intel on Jax. We know she holds her cards pretty close. He's like, well, I thought y'all said all I had to do was just get close to her and I could be a partner. But now they want him to snitch. So, again, will Bill, actually do the snitching to make sure that he can get partner no matter what? Because now Jax lets him know that, you're a part of my team. You're officially on this case with me, right? Let's get to Ozzie Edwards. Oh my God. So Ozzie Edwards, we learn more about his past, right? And for Ozzie, when it comes to Ozzie, it's quite simple. He is drugged out, unfortunately, right? This happens to a lot of kids in Hollywood. He's no different from what he's going through with, right? It's a sad situation, because I feel like the family has completely abandoned him, right? So we know that Kim, um, Jackson's friend Kim, Daniel Kim, is supposed to watch over Ozzy, right? And Ozzy ends up overdosing. And we end up meeting Ozzy's sister. She's basically saying, listen, I supplied the drugs for him. I met his plug. And I've been doing this. Like, this is a cycle. Like, this ain't nothing new. Like, we've been doing this for Ozzy. And then we end up meeting Dr. Owens, Jack's friend. And of course, Ozzy's revived through Narcan. If I'm not, yeah, Narcan. So we end up meeting Jack's friend, right? She wants to try to help him out because the family was like, oh, well, we didn't want to tell it to the press. And it lets me know that the family is still in it for themselves at the end of the day, right? So Dr. Owens comes in, she tries to talk to him. Turns out Ozzy has been abused as a child. And then he's also been doing these drugs for a long time. It's like it's a family cycle, right? It's like the entire family is in it. Could even call that doctor. It seemed like that doctor was like, oh yeah, we've been through this several times. This ain't nothing new. He'll be okay. Everybody's in this thing for themselves, but nobody's truly protecting Ozzy at the end of the day. And with him being sexually abused and being on drugs so early, it's just a typical Hollywood story that we have seen play out over and over before. Now we know Ozzy's gonna ask his boy to come clean about what's going on, and his homie is like, "Nah, my boy, you're on your own. This ain't my cousin's in deal no more." Pow pow, gotcha. So now Ozzy is left in limbo. The sisters supplying the drugs. Daniel Kim, this man's been falling in love with Ozzy's sister. Can he be reliable and tell the truth about what he knows about the sister? How the sister and the plug, Alex, are kind of in hand in hand in cahoots together, basically. Now let's get to Naima and her father. Now Naima's hanging around these young girls. These young girls, ask her to do a dare, right? Because they see this person in the window, girly pop, stuff like that. I'm like, Naima, you got to find a new friend group. But this is typical. This is typical what we all more than likely have fell into growing up as a child. So I can't put too much judgment on Naima, but at the same time, Naima must know what kind of company she's with, right? Now, for Naima, she takes the dare. The dare is going to get her in trouble. She's going to jail. Lewis, Jax are pissed. They saying, listen, if I didn't have those connects I did, you will be rotting in here. I'm like, come on, Naima. Now, Naima later on drops a bombshell on Lewis, stating that, when it comes to, uh, she was mentioning a conversation about her friend was having, saying that her dad, Lewis, is that they're basically sisters, right? And that Lewis has a baby or had a dead baby. And Lewis is like, huh, yeah, that's that's kind of crazy, right? And Lewis is completely shook into his core. It's just a matter of time before Jax and Lewis have to tell these kids about what's going on when it comes to baby Jaden and that mistake that Lewis made with Tony. Those kids are going to find out. I think they're going to find out through that Jalen Hurts jersey. One of them is going to discover, that's my personal theory. One of them is going to discover that Jalen Hurts baby jersey, and it's going to cause a lot of trouble. And of course, like I said before, the episode ends with Ozzy and his boy. He wants to come clean. He don't come clean. He's like, yo, you're on your own. Then we go off to the next episode. That was my thoughts about this episode of Reasonable Doubt. Jax, get out of there. Jax, keep your cars close to you. The firm cannot be trusted, y'all. The firm cannot be trusted. The partners cannot be trusted. That is my thoughts. Let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments. And as always, thank you for tuning in to The Lawrence Report.